Hey guys, Sublord here, back again with another edition of Throwback Thursdays, and what I have for you today is the McFarlane Toys Spawn Series 9, Manga Spawn Series 1, Manga Ninja Spawn. And if that wasn't enough Spawn for you, Spawny Spawn McSpawn Spawn Spawn Spawn. Because that's what this line is all about. How many times can we fit Spawn in the title/subtitles of a series? That said, today, once again, we are looking at Manga Ninja Spawn, who looks a little bit more like medieval Manga Spawn, but, you know, who am I to judge, right? But before we get into the meat and taters of this review, since I no longer have the packaging for this figure right here, let's first take a look-see at his accessories, starting off with the toe to one of my socks. No, actually, this is a little ninja mask. And unlike the regular Ninja Spawn, this is not a, well, end of a condom. So you can actually get this over his head and not mess it up like a shoe. As I mess it up, trying to put it over his head. Okay. I see how it is. I see how you want to play. Yeah, there we go. It's a little easier when you turn his head to the side there, but there you go. Now you can't see any of that awesome sculpt and paint detail on his face. So for now, we're going to take this off. That said, he also comes with these two little thingies. I don't know what the hell these are. These are like axe blades, kind of. They go on his back. He has little peg holes on the back here that these can stick into. But rather than waste your time watching me struggle with that, since the end of my sock took long enough to get over his face there, I'm going to wait and we'll have these attached during size comparisons. I assure you. That said, speaking of which, he also comes with this big monster shield. Again, a little bit more on the medieval Spawn side than Ninja Spawn, I would say. That said, it's got this big arse peg in there. Yeah, not quite sure why that is. I don't recall this going into his hand. I do believe it mounts on the side of his arm here, which we'll get into that, but kind of looks like a mouth. Looks like some teeth, whatnot, but very thick shield too, so it's kind of heavy on that arm. Just be wary about that. And then last but certainly not least, he comes with this awesome staff. There's a blade on the top and the bottom because that's how Spawn rolls. You can't just have one blade if you're going to have a whirly-twirly ninja staff. You have to have two blades, one on each end. That's the rule. That said, getting this in his hand, he does have an action feature in this hand, in the fact that you can rotate it around like so, and there is a spring in there, so when you let it go, well, the idea is it's supposed to spin this weapon around, but we'll see how many times it actually gets caught on the figure. Yeah, I see exactly. It's pretty shit, actually, so yeah, you can't really utilize gimmick because the staff is too big and smacks the figure right in the face. That, and there's not enough articulation in the arm to pose it to where it's not going to get in the way. That said, taking a closer look at our Manga Ninja Spawn, other than the major gimmick fail and some of the odd choices as far as accessories go, I think this is probably one of the better figures in the Manga Spawn line, especially the first wave, which I don't believe was as strong as the second, mostly because it has the god-awful goddess figure in it, which, no, not looking forward to reviewing that one, but at some point I'm going to have to, because that's my due diligence as a reviewer of the vintage Spawn line, to eventually review everything from the first 10 waves, and unfortunately, that hunk of shit is part of it. But we're not talking about her today, we're talking about Manga Ninja Spawn, and Manga Ninja Spawn is not that bad. He's actually quite good. other than the weird gimmick in the wrist and some of the odd accessory choices. On display, he looks awesome. Okay, don't get it twisted. Although I will tell you, this cape thing, it can come off. There are peg holes in the shoulders here. I ain't taking that off. I do enough for you guys as it is. This was a bitch to get on here. I had to shave some of the peg on this side off to actually get it to fit in the peg hole on this side. So therefore, this is never coming off again, and I'm okay with that. If you're not, well then that's just too bad, isn't it? That said, if you wanted a more traditional style Spawn from this Manga Spawn series, this is the closest you're going to get. Because he doesn't really look like a ninja, if I'm being honest, and he has a cape on top of that. I mean, it's not a traditional Spawn cape with the big rabbit ear collar and the pointy shoulders in it. Well, he does have pointy shoulders, but in a different sense. Anyway, he's Manga Ninja Spawn, but he might as well just be Manga Spawn, and the regular Manga Spawn could be Manga Mecha Spawn, because that's really what that thing is. That said, I like the sculpt on this figure a lot, other than this hand being kind of wacky. Trying to get that on the inside is not easy. I like the sculpt on this a lot. It reminds me a lot of the traditional Spawn with some creative liberties, you know? He's got the spikes, he's got the mask, which again, the way the white parts stick up here, the kind of blades on his mask, it reminds me a lot of medieval Spawn more so than Ninja Spawn. Other than the ninja mask, you could just say this is a manga medieval Spawn. And even the new manga Spawn that's coming out for, I don't know if it's for the Spawn Universe line or not, but it's got the big blade on the arm. It's got a shield. It's got multiple bladed weapons, just like this guy. I want to say a combination of this guy and the regular Manga Spawn from this series was the inspiration for the new Manga Spawn, but I could be wrong. That said, as far as articulation goes, his head will rotate side to side. Okay, it's not great. His shoulders will move up and down. Do they move out? I don't think so. I think they just move forward and back. I don't think he's got a bicep cut either. No, they're just kind of gummy. He does have the sucky McFarlane elbow joints, which were on every figure with elbow joints at this time, and we're usually prone to breakage, so we're going to stop moving that. And he does have a swivel on the wrist on this side. For whatever reason, though, they attach the gauntlet to the hand, rather than just put the cut there. I don't know. It's the 90s, man. They made some very weird decisions. This is definitely one of them. That said, I do kind of like having the gauntlet rotate with the hand, because that's kind of how it would work in real life anyways, but I'm not going to lie, I would have preferred if this was a little bit more secure on the arm and the wrist swiveled by itself, even if it was hindered by this plate back here. That said, shouldn't this blade be on the top here? I guess it will get in the way of that shield, huh? Nothing in the waist, though. That said, it doesn't break up this awesome sculpt here. Very much like the movie suit. I do say so myself. It does remind me a lot of the... oh, crap. I forgot his name. The Black Dynamite. Spawn. Is it Michael J. White? I want to say that's his name, but I don't want to sound like I'm talking with my foot in my mouth here, but I believe it's Michael J. White, a.k.a. Black Dynamite. Because, you know, Mama said your daddy's name was Black Dynamite. Sorry, I can't help it. Every time I think of Spawn movie, I think of Black Dynamite. But either way, it looks a lot like the movie suit. I do believe this figure came out either on the same time or right after, so it makes sense. He does have the dreaded V-cut swivels, though, which those are never fun. I hate those. I hate those with a passion. One day I will go back in time and I will keep this joint from ever being conceived because of how useless it is. That said, it does kind of help him stand, but it's just not... It's not all that functional. I'd rather it didn't move at all. That said, he does have knee joints, so that's something. I would be careful with these because they do feel a little bit gummy. You don't want to tear those, but... That said, he does have peg holes on the bottom of the feet, in case you need to put him on a stand, which you might. He is in a very kind of slightly jaywalking pose. So a stand might help this guy a little bit, but I can get him to stand okay even with all of his accessories and whatnot. So with that being said, that's really Ninja Spawn in a nutshell. Excuse me, Manga Ninja Spawn. My only real gripe with this figure is, again, the pre-pose thing. It's annoying. It's hard to stand. And I do wish his arms were a little bit better articulated. I would have gladly sacrificed the elbow rotation for a ball hinge shoulder, like a hinge out in the shoulder, just so you could get that gimmick to work a little better. Because as it stands, the weapon just kind of gets caught all over the figure, and it doesn't really work all that well. So kind of defeats the purpose of having the gimmick in the first place. But with all that being said, let's get this guy geared up with all of his accoutrements, at least the ones I want to throw on the figure. Take a look at some size comparisons. First up, here is Manga Ninja Spawn, fully geared up, as promised, next to a couple of other vintage Spawn figures. We have Spawn 1 from Spawn Series 1, and Ninja Spawn 1 from Spawn Series, I want to say it was 3 or 4. It was the card backs with the lightning bolts that were all blue and stuff. Yeah, that era. But with that being said, while Manga Ninja Spawn isn't perfect, he is definitely a step above Ninja Spawn 1 with the whole condom mask and all. Yeah, Manga Ninja Spawn definitely is making up for that. That said, we wouldn't have Manga Ninja Spawn without Ninja Spawn 1 here, so we gotta give credit where it's due. And having all three of these guys on screen, you can definitely see the evolution from the more traditional Spawn, Spawn 1, to Ninja Spawn, then to this more anime-inspired Manga Ninja Spawn. That said, I think we all know which one looks best aesthetically. That said, best quality still goes to Spawn 1. You can't touch the first two waves of this line, man. They're just so good. Next up, here he is alongside a couple of characters from the McFarlane Toys Mortal Kombat 11 line, Noob Saibot and the Malefic Spawn. If I'm being 110% honest, I could see a little bit of Manga Ninja Spawn in both of these guys. What do you guys think? And last, but certainly not least, we have our two regulars, the Mythic Agents, Brother Mandibulus, 11 Spawn, as usual, towers over everyone. I hope you guys thought you weren't getting off the hook just because I busted out Malefic Spawn, because it's not an Overlord Productions action figure review without busting out good old 11 Spawn. He is a staple of this channel after all, and my videos wouldn't be the same without him. So with that being said, time to wrap things up, some final thoughts. Overall, while I do believe that this figure still has a few shortcomings here and there, I must say it is at the very least a step above the previous Ninja Spawn we got in this vintage Spawn line, particularly when it comes to the mask. And while it may not be great, it's definitely a step above the condom mask we got with the OG Ninja Spawn. Am I right, or am I right? That said, other than that, I do think that this guy would have benefited from the hinged shoulders that first Ninja Spawn had initially, because of the gimmick that involves spinning this giant spear weapon around. That said, maybe you can put one of those smaller weapons that plug into his back in there and it'll work just fine. Haven't tried that yet, but the handles look a little bit small. I think the weapons would just fall out of his hands at that point. So with that being said, while this may not be a perfect Ninja Spawn figure, it is still a really cool looking Ninja Spawn figure with a few elements of the medieval Spawn thrown in there just to give it bonus points for me, because that is, for those of you who don't already know, my favorite version of Spawn. Well, any Hell Spawn. It's not actually Al Simmons as the medieval Spawn, if you guys pay attention to the Spawn comics. It is a different alias, a more chivalrous alias, I might add, that gets punked out by Angela in like issue 2 or something. So yeah, it kind of sucks that my favorite version of Spawn gets cucked out pretty early on, but it is what it is. It was 90s comics after all, and well, we're lucky anyone survived, right? So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this week's edition of Throwback Thursdays. If you're so inclined, please don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you know whenever I upload more reviews like this one. If you haven't already, please hit me up on Instagram at Overlord Productions. But as always, keep the comments civil, because the world sucks enough as it is, especially when you realize that your favorite alias of a character gets punked out really early on in the comic series. I mean, I hate to have an epiphany on cam, but damn it, man, that just freaking sucks. And until next time, I'll catch you guys later.